Okay. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
We are back. We are going to be continuing on with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We are currently looking at the book of Leviticus, Vayikra. We're going to be dealing with today. We're going to be looking at Leviticus chapter 7, going through Leviticus chapter 7. We're going to look at Leviticus chapter 7 and get a little perspective, really. Then we're going to move forward into the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament. I'm going to look at a few things that that Yeshua has to say and kind of think about it in the context of what we find over in the Torah portion. Okay, so we want to talk about today the fact that the sacrifice is holy. The sacrifice is holy. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and look. I want to actually go back. Our chapter is chapter 7. I want to go back and look at, we're going to start reading in chapter 6, 624, because there's something I want to see in chapter 6 that correlates with what we'll see over in chapter 7. So let me pull up the verses over here. If we go down to, let's see here, verse 24, start reading for us. At verse 24.
We spoke to Moshe saying, speak to Aaron and to his son saying, this is the Torah of the sin offering in the place where the ascending offering is slain. The sin offering is slain before Yahweh. It is most set apart. The priest who is making atonement eats it in the set apart place. It is eaten in the courtyard of the tent of appointment. All that touches its flesh is to be set apart. And when its blood is sprinkled on any garment, you wash that on which it was sprinkled in the set apart place. But the earthen vessel in which it is cooked is to be broken. And if it is cooked in a bronze pot, then it is scourged and rinsed in water. Every male among the priests eats it. It is most set apart. And no sin offering from which any of the blood is brought into the tent of appointment to make atonement in the set apart place. It is eaten, it is burned with fire.
Okay, very good. So one thing that I wanted to kind of just start to begin to think about, we look at verse number 27. It says, let's see. Actually, 25, where it says the sin offering is slain before Yahweh. It says in this translation, it is most set apart. Okay, talking about the offering, the sacrifice, right? And then we see down here, go down, verse 27, it says, all that touches its flesh is set apart, which is interesting because when we look at some translations, we get some kind of different perspective as to what it wants for us to know over here. This one seems to say all that touches its flesh is to be set apart, as if to say you got to be set apart in order to touch it. But some translations actually say all that touches its flesh become holy. Okay. And so, which that's a big difference between having to be a certain way before you touch it, and or as opposed to you touching it actually causing you to be set apart, which is interesting. Okay. Because, kind of what we want to begin to think about as we go through all of this, we think about the sacrifice, right? We think about what it represents, right? And we look at, this thing that depending on how we're looking at this thing, you either have to be holy in order to even touch it, or we could even just couple that with, because we can add holiness as a prerequisite to touching it, because it's the priest is the ones who's doing the touching, and we know that they had to be set apart, right? And so we could look at this we could kind of expand the way we think about this in terms of the toucher already needs to be set apart because he's the priest, right? But like I said, when we look at some other translations, it literally says that the one who touches what do it say in the King James? 20 hold on. 20 the priest who making it 27 6:27. It says he shall be holy. Whoever touches it shall be holy. Yeah. $6.20. Oh, I forgot we have the mechanical. Let's see what the mechanical translation says in regards to it. I think that's the majority of the idea that you get, is that there's a prerequisite to holiness prior to the touching. But some certain translations actually, like I said, say actually become holy. But let's see what the mechanical says here. 6:24. 6. Hold on, Leviticus 6. $6.24 says this numbering is weird. This one, let me see here. 620. 07. 6:27. Anything that touches her flesh, will be set apart, and when he shall splatter the also will be set apart. Which kind of along the lines that we're thinking about. Okay, so again, when we think about this fact that the sacrifice is holy, right? It's the most set apart over here, right? And its holiness can't be shared with those that aren't holy. right? It's the priests are the ones who are actually partaking of this particular thing over here. And we see that again, like I said, holiness is a requirement, a prerequisite to partake, right? That set apartness is something that already exists within the partakers of this particular offering. And so it immediately caused me to think about the Passover sacrifice. Right over here, this is talking about a sin offering. We know the Passover is not a sin offering, but we see that there are prerequisites to partaking in the Passover. Right? If you're not connected to Israel, if you're not part of the Commonwealth, you can't partake. So let me see. We go. Exodus 13. All right, let me go back over here because this is something different, but we see the same principle. We see the same principle in place. Oh, it's actually 12. We see the same principle in place, right? We can't. The priest is the only one. He is a holy one who is able to touch this holy thing, right? This sacrifice. And if we go down to verse, let's see here, verse 43. If we start reading over here at Exodus 12 and 43, see what it says over there.
And Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron, this is the law of the Pesach. No son of a stranger is to eat of it. But any servant, a man has bought for silver, when you have circumcised him, then let him eat of it.
Okay, stop right there. So when we look over here, right, when we think about the Passover, this other sacrifice, right? It's not what we're looking at in Leviticus, but the thing that's similar is that there is a prerequisite for the eating of it, which is even here, it's a type of set apartness, right? Over here with the Passover lamb, you must be circumcised, right? A stranger doesn't partake in the Passover, right? One who's not connected to the people doesn't partake, right? And so we see with the Passover, there's a type of set apartness that is a prerequisite to the taking of the Passover. Just like when we see over here with this sacrifice, where it speaks about the sacrifice being holy, and the one who partakes of it is holy. And as it says in verse, let me go back over there. Let's see, Leviticus 6. Again, where it says all that touches its flesh is to be holy, right? And so what I kind of want to begin to think about is just the idea of, this set apartness, right? And the fact that, we have to be able to maintain a particular thing about us so that we are able to do the things that the Most High would have for us to be doing. The priest had to hold on one second here. Hold on one second here. Okay, trying to get these technical difficulties together over there. All right, so Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We okay, so as I'm saying over here, we want to remember that there are prerequisites in place, right? The priest couldn't just be any kind of way, right? He was not able to just touch all types of filthy things and take part in all types of uncleanness, right? He had to maintain a thing about himself so that he's able to perform his duties, right? And then again, when we see over here with this sacrifice that is offered, is calling the sacrifice holy. Now we're going to come back to this thought of the sacrifice being holy and kind of expound on it some more as we go on. But I want to go ahead and read the next chapter, to go into the next chapter, because there's another verse that we have over here that kind of adds to what we're thinking about over here. So if we could just go over to Leviticus chapter 7 and start reading at the first verse over here.
And this is the Torah of the guilt offering. It is most set apart. The guilt offering is slain in the place where they slay the ascending offering, and its blood is sprinkled on the slaughter place all around. Then he brings from it all its fat, and the fat tail, and the fat that covers the entrails, and the two kidneys, and the fat is on them by the loins, and the appendage of the liver, which he removes with the kidneys. And the priest shall burn them from a slaughtering place as an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a guilt offering. Every male among the priests eats it, and it is eaten in the set apart place. It is most set apart. The guilt offering is like a sin offering. There is one Torah for both them, for them both. The priest who makes atonement with it, it is his. And the priest who brings anyone's ascending offering, the skin of the ascending offering which he has brought is the priest's. It is his. And every grain offering that is baked in the oven, and all that is prepared in the stewing pot or on the griddle, is the priest who brings it. It is his. And every grain offering mixed with oil or dry, it is all the sons of Aaron, for all alike. And this is the Torah of the slaughtering of the peace offerings, which is brought to Yahweh. If he brings it for a thanksgiving, then he shall bring with the slaughtering of thanksgiving unleavened cakes mixed with oil, and unleavened thin cakes anointed with oil, or cakes finely blended flour mixed with oil. Beside the cakes he brings as his offering leavened bread together with the slaughtering of thanksgiving of his peace offerings. And from it he shall bring one cake from each offering as a contribution to Yahweh. The priest who sprinkles the blood of the peace offerings, it is his. For the flesh of the slaughtering of his peace offerings for thanksgiving, it is eaten the same day it is offered. He does not leave any of it until morning. And if the slaughtering he brings as a vow or a voluntary offering, it is eaten the same day that he brings his slaughtering, and it is what is left of it is eaten the next day. But whatever is left of the flesh of the slaughtering, the third day it is burned with fire. However, if any of the flesh of the slaughtering of his peace offerings is eaten at all on the third day, it is not accepted. It is not reckoned to him who brings it. It is unclean to him, and that being who eats it bears his crookedness. And the flesh that touches that which is unclean is not eaten. It is burned with fire. And as for the clean flesh, all who are clean eat of it. But the being who eats the flesh of the slaughtering, a peace offering that belongs to Yahweh, while he is unclean, that being shall be cut off from his people. And when a being who touches that which is unclean, of the uncleanness of man, or the uncleanness of beasts, or any unclean abomination, and shall eat the flesh of the slaughtering of peace offerings that belong to Yahweh, that being shall be cut off from his people. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, do not eat any fat of bull or sheep or goat, and the fat of a dead body, and the fat of what is torn is used for any purpose, but you do not eat it at all. For whoever eats the fat of the beast of which men bring as an offering made by fire to Yahweh, even that being who eats it shall be cut off from his people. And do not eat any blood in any of your dwellings of bird or beast. Any being who eats any blood, even that being shall be cut off from his people. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, he who brings his slaughtering of peace offerings to Yahweh brings his offerings to Yahweh from the slaughtering of his peace offerings. With his own hands he brings the offerings made by fire to Yahweh. He brings the fat of the beast to be waved as a wave offering before Yahweh, and the priest shall burn the fat on the slaughtering place, but the beast shall be Aaron's and his sons. And the right thigh you give to the priest as a contribution from the slaughtering of your peace offerings. He among the sons of Aaron who brings the blood of the peace offerings and the fat, the right thigh, is his for a portion. For the beast of the wave offering and the thigh of the contribution I have taken from the children of Israel, from the slaughterings of their peace offerings. I give them to Aaron the priest and to his sons as a law forever from the children of Israel. This is the anointed portion for Aaron and the anointed portion for his sons from the offerings made by fire to Yahweh on the day when Moshe presented them to serve as priests to Yahweh, which Moshe commanded to be given to them by the children of Israel on the day that he anointed them, a law forever throughout their generations. This is the Torah of ascending offering, of the grain offering, and of the sin offering, and of the guilt offering, and of the ordinations, and of the slaughtering of peace offerings, which Yahweh commanded Moshe on Mount Sinai on the day he commanded the children of Israel to bring their offerings to Yahweh in the wilderness of Sinai.
Okay, very good. So there's a couple of things I wanted to just go over. I guess we'll work our way backwards because we saw some things over here that we talked about in some respects earlier. Seems like when we look at this thing, there's not a question as to what is talking about in terms of the blood. There's just you just don't eat the blood, right? All blood is just
unclean.
We don't eat that,
Mhm.
right? There were some. I mean, there's. I don't know what to really say. It says any blood, right? And so it's kind of like it's kind of just cut and dry. Like there were some questions that we had thought about before when we talked about the eating of fat, because the fat that we were looking at previously was connected to particular organs, right? It talked about the kidneys and the livers and the innards and the fat that was connected to them, and those were saying that it was those things were being burnt as a burnt offering. They were given unto the Most High, and you didn't eat that. But when we look over here, it don't seem to give you really the same context. And we also have different parts, right? There's the fat of the breast over here that talks about the thighs and all of these other things. Hey, let me scroll down here. But let's see, 25. Oh, wait a second. Let's look at 24 and 25. Oh, let's go all the way up to 23. Okay, so it says there, do not eat any fat of bull, sheep, or goat. That almost seems kind of like the blood thing, is where it's like it's just fat. It's not necessarily connected to the fat that's associated with the innards, like in the previous verses. Over there is just like the fat of these animals,
which makes the meat so juicy. A lot of people.
I mean, I would say to a degree, like you can't, like, I don't know how you get, just like I don't know how you get all the blood out, like most of the blood out. I talk about how I used to work in that kosher kitchen, and when you get that kosher meat, it's extra salty because they literally soak it in salt to draw all the blood out. And there's still like a little bit of blood in there. Like you get a lot of it out, but I think the difference is that the obvious when we think about just eating it raw, when the blood is just there's no question as to where the blood is what I mean, it's right there.
Some people prefer it that way.
They do. That's what I just thought.
Yeah.
Prefer there's certain ways.
Yeah, but we're not supposed to eat it like that, right? It's certain people. We learn how to eat like from certain people that have me all doing some strange things over here, right? But so I'm saying that you can get most of the blood out, mostly all of it out, but being that chefing used to be one of my areas of expertise, right? That blood really, when it's cooked, it kind of changes the way that it, like, it's not like when the blood gets cooked that it just stays looking like that. When you got that juiciness, really, I mean, that's the blood, but you done cooked it, right? And so it transforms it, which is different from.
You think so? Like,
yeah, it's part of it. It's part of it.
Blood
it's not.
But I'm thinking like for instance, you got a juicy chicken breast. Like,
well, I'm thinking about these. I'm thinking about like
red meat animals.
Yeah.
That's because it's hard. I guess it's hard to tell too because it's red meat.
And even when you eat like ground meats, like even like ground turkey and whatnot, you see.
Well, now see,
you see blood in that.
I do.
When you just mentioned that, it just caused me to think about something, because this is causing problems Because when you get like ground meat, it's you know, it's 20% fat
Right.
in that meat.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of the, like, you know, it's crazy. My mom watched me do it. Like, you know, the little white pieces, I be picking them out because I know that's fat. I be trying to pick the little fat pieces out.
Yeah.
But it is like, and
I mean, if you get some hamburger, it's 20% fat. You know what I
But
mean?
don't that cook off? That's what that grease is.
Well, I don't think all of it
I
does.
don't think all of it do, but
So this is the question though. Is it talking about just straightforward, you know, all I could eat is the lean part, I can't even eat the other parts? Or what?
But may I share something?
Go ahead.
So I'm realizing that I really have to make the transition to a plant-based diet based off of this information I'm receiving, because I'm looking at the way that I've been taught to look at food. And Nana, she loves steak, and she likes her steak cooked a specific way. What color is the color that makes you think danger?
red.
Right. So what color is blood? Red. When people cook a steak, some people don't mind the color red. Some people like the color red. They ignore that signal that the color red is stop, right? I'm realizing that I prefer my steak not the fullest of the fullest way done that would eliminate completely the color of the red. Or what I'm seeing is when we cook meat, we take the blood color turns. The color turns. So it makes it more appetizing to people who don't look at food and see, oh, that's red, that's got blood in it. It's not done enough. Let me cook it longer so it's not red and I don't see the blood. So it's gonna taste good and I'm comfortable eating it. That's what y'all are saying to me right now.
Well, I mean, when we look at
removing the blood completely unless you stop eating it completely. Right?
well, I mean, even if we think about that in the context of what we're looking at, they were telling you how to eat it because they literally did eat it.
Okay.
And so they got the blood out, and then they're saying that you have to be a particular person, or even in some of these be in a particular way about yourself to be able to eat it. So they're eating it, right? But the question becomes, to what extent are we talking about? And I think where I would say that the difference would be like, they because they're draining the blood. They drain the blood out. That's obviously part of the part that you can't eat that. Because they got these cultures where they literally take the blood that they
pudding.
Yeah. Where they drain the blood out and then they do something with that and eat it. And so we can't take it to the place where we say that we're not even eating meat, because they're talking about eating meat in here. Mm-hmm. It's just about the way in which you're doing it. And so when we think about the idea of getting the blood out, you're able to get the majority of the blood out. But also, I think when we're talking about not eating the blood, we're also talking about like not eating some raw meat.
Right.
Right? You're not eating that meat when it's not cooked all the way. Right?
There's certain cultures that do that too. Like I seen something on like the Eskimos.
Yeah.
And those people, they were
not cooking it at all.
Not cooking it at all.
Yeah.
They were like sitting on the ground eating a beast. Like the kids, and they just had blood all over their faces, and it was just like,
that's wild.
I was like, what?
Eskimo means
yeah.
Ears of raw meat.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Eskimo means ears of raw meat.
That's that right there.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, they look like little monsters with the blood, and I was like, what
my goodness. So wow. over here, this person says, so So all the juice from cooked ground beef is blood. I'm not saying that. What I was saying though is that ground meat, for the most part, is meat chunks and fat.
Right.
It's 80% meat chunks and 20% fat.
Mhm.
And you know, from a culinary perspective, right, that adds to the juiciness of the meat, the
Right.
fat content.
Mhm.
And so it's interesting what we're talking about over here, because you know, what is it that we supposed to do over here? Like, we supposed to, it's ground meat, like what's it talking about? Is it saying like, okay, so we can look at it and it's like we could look at it and think about the other scriptures where it literally said all blood, where it causes not to think about we, like it's just all blood, like we don't eat the blood. Now the same words is used, we think about this fat in the same way, which says do not eat any fat of. Is it talking about like if we're intentionally like eating the fat, or like the residual fat?
Well, you would think that, because this is what I thought. Like they removed probably as much fat as they possibly could.
Yeah, and then like once you get to the meat part, like I can't see, because if you think about fat, like certain beef, there's big chunks of fat.
Yeah,
Like fat,
right?
Cholesterol you hold
like clog your arteries.
Yeah. So I'm thinking once you get to the actual meat, like if there's I mean, because you're cooking it.
Yeah, you cooking it, yeah.
And so like fat changes, you know, under heat. So I figured that it wouldn't be the same as straight up, here go this fat and I'm heating it up and
right. And I think, you know, Yahweh don't want us eating the fat because of the health issues, and not because of like the blood. Okay, the life's in the blood, but nothing's in the fat. You know what I'm saying? It's just unhealthy.
Yeah.
So he's like, don't eat that. It's unhealthy. You know what I mean? Like some things are
the unwanted
just basics.
Part, like,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, like for instance, like most of the meats that he's like pig. You don't want us eating the pig. Why? Because it cleans. It's like eating a vacuum cleaner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the shellfish and, you know, the things that clean up the bottom of the sea. Why are you going to eat the things that he made to clean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely aspects of wisdom and things incorporated in the foods that he said for us to eat and for us not to eat. It makes sense that when we look at these things that are prohibited to us as food, those things are scavengers, and you know, they don't filter their food or whatever. You know, whatever the pig, you know, could eat, it eats anything as it is, but it don't filter the food properly. And so whatever poison or stuff that it eats, that stuff goes all through its body, as opposed to other animals that, you know, they have different filtration systems inside where, you know, the poisons and things don't go all the way through out the things. And so, but you know, when we're thinking about fat, though, you know, fat from kind of a perspective of you know, what it kind of represents. You know, when we look at this over here, this word cheleb, to be fat, whether literally or figuratively, hence the richest or choice part. Right. And then so we talked about the fat. When we talked about this before, we looked over in Romans chapter 11, where it talks about the root and the fatness of the tree, right? Where the nutrients, where the how the tree is actually being fed. And so from a certain perspective, we could look at fat and see where there is I mean, if we just think about like a seal, for instance, or some of those, cold weather water animals where they have this thick layer of fat, which is used as insulation, which keeps them warm. So we could see the purposes, but those purposes don't got nothing to do with eating, right? And so, again, I mean, the way I think about it is like, and we can see what the scripture says over here. We gotta try to see, what we think that it means over here. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm eating a piece of meat, right? And it got a piece of fat on it. I don't want to eat that part, right? I'm not sitting up there chewing on the fat part, right? I just want to eat the meat part. But when you think about, like, even when you think about, like, when you look at a piece of meat and it has those little white lines that goes through it, that's fat.
That's what it is.
And so I'm saying, in terms of me eating the meat and like getting rid of the obvious fats, but I'm saying like the like the residual things that you really can't, even when you think about the blood, I guess we could think about it in the same way. You can't get all of the blood out. Just like if you're going to eat a piece of red meat, particularly, like if it's like chicken, like it's easy. They're built different. So it don't even mention chicken anyway. It mentions these other things, but they're built different where you could literally get all of the fat off of it. But when you talking about these animals where their muscles is just set up different, I don't know how you do it 100%. I'm not sure if he's asking for it to be 100%.
I don't think so, because I don't think so. Like, for instance,
Can't get his own strand of that.
with a burger, a little bit.
Now, but the burger part is the gray area that I'm thinking about.
Well,
because you're taking big chunks of the fat and mixing it together.
Yeah, they're doing that. I'm about to stop cutting it off because it's been bothering my stomach more and more lately.
When you taking it out,
And you can
I'm about
see it.
to start eliminating my ground meat. I don't eat ground meat. I eat ground turkey, and that's supposed to be even leaner.
Yeah.
But every time I eat it, man, like it's
all contaminated. We eating our food among the Gentiles. It's all contaminated. So the better.
We like the Maccabees.
Hey,
I wanted to ask a question though, because when I was growing up, before I started trying to keep Torah, I never wanted to eat the fat.
me too. I was about
And
to say that.
I never wanted to eat the blood.
I always mangled the steak
I always try to look for the meat that had the least amount of white lines in it.
Yeah, yep.
So it's like, it's so interesting because it was naturally in us
Yeah,
to do these things.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely did. They be like, "Why are you eating it like that?"
Yeah.
I'm just picking.
Yeah.
I don't like the veins like in the chicken.
Oh,
like,
me too. Me too.
When I eat like the
Yeah.
chicken, unless it's fried,
Yeah.
and fried chicken, you just take. But if it's like baked or something, and I see that vein, I'm taking that vein out. It's like I'm doing operations.
Yeah, I know.
Just to break. I just feel weird eating it.
Lamb?
That's it.
Lamb got a lot of
It's
fat on
naturally, I'm telling you, it's naturally
Lamb
in
got
us.
a lot of fat on it. Let me say
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And we up there, cleaning the car, so I'm helping the women. And I'm like, I'll clean the fat. Man, I'll never do that again. Unless I really have to. I was like, dang, man, it's hard to get all this stuff. This is when you think you
You
got
took it down.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment on that definition. You
Oh,
pulled
okay,
out
hold on.
real quick. One of the you go to the bottom. got grease.
Grease.
So if I push my burger down and get all the grease out, that's the fat. That's supposed to make that point.
I mean,
I'm
some
getting
people-
it say grease.
Some people cook with the grease, like they, they want to use the grease to flavor.
Yep.
But if that's what I'm saying, like, because if in the cuts of meat, there's gonna be like it's gonna be simple and something, but it's like you cooking it off.
Yeah, you
Like, what extreme are we? Because it said don't eat it. Like, I'm not gonna eat a pot of grease.
Yeah.
I'm like straining it out, even though you're gonna keep that little bit of juiciness. I'm just throwing it out. I'm just saying it do say grease. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that when we look at this, especially being, where we are in terms of there being a separation in terms of us, reconnecting to the to these ways, after being separated and not, disconnected from it, we do the best that we can do, and certain things I think are common sense, but there are these gray areas, like we're thinking about, burgers, like, you go to the place here, you get a 100% lean burger.
Grease dripping down
That
your mouth.
that thing really is dry.
Yeah,
That thing
exactly.
dry.
Oh yeah, I know. Like I hate that.
That
Yeah,
thing
it's
dry,
like,
right? When you get it lean.
Sometimes we get a bean burger after that.
Hey, I went so far of rinsing the burger off with warm water, thinking I'm gonna make it juicy. Is that crazy?
He said that's
I
crazy.
gotta make this juicy.
Put in some water.
I knew a guy.
Fried chicken and everything.
I knew a guy who boiled, instead of like frying the burger, like cooking it in the pan. He would like cook it in water.
Wow.
So,
Like that's how he cooked his burgers.
in the water.
You tasted what?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't bad. He didn't. It wasn't all the way boiled. Like if you had like a frying pan, the amount of water that you would use, the amount of oil that you would use, he would just use water. And so instead of using grease or oil, he would like braising it almost.
Raising
The burger. but I wanted to go
Steamed
back
burger.
up. It's almost a steamed burger. I wanted to go back up. If we let's see, verse 20 goes back to the original point that we was making over here in terms of here where it says the soul who eats the flesh of the peace offering that's unclean. He's cut off from his people. Okay, and so it's the same thing that we saw in terms of before when we talked about the sacrifice being holy, and you had to be holy in order to touch his flesh. Or also we seen some translations translate that to say any flesh that touches the offering will become holy. We see that over here it's saying that if you're unclean, like it cancels you out from being able to partake in it. So again, we think about this idea of kind of this prerequisite that we have to partaking in these holy things. Okay. And so it's just not for whoever, right? You have to already be in the mind frame or the process of set apartness in order to be able to partake. And then even over here it says that the unclean person. So you are somebody who's under normal circumstances is able to participate, but because of a particular state that you're currently in, it cancels you out. And so we're saying all that just to say that in order to be able to partake in the sacrifice, there has to already be a set apartness about you in order to be able to partake. And like I said before, we already think along those lines when we do Passover, because people in Israel, sometimes they treat Passover the way that the mainstream treats Easter, where the people, the only time you see them is at Passover, right? They come around to participate in these things, but from a spiritual standpoint, they're unclean, though, right? And so you wasn't using this holy thing, this sacrifice that's holy. You wasn't using that thing to become clean. You were using this or participating in it because of the fact that you was already clean. And so I want to spend more time in the Brit Hadashah and talk about this some more, but just thinking about the fact that it's necessary for something to happen on the inside, something to have happened on the inside to be able, that makes us able to be able to do and be a part of these holy things, right? And we see example of that over here, because with the guilt offering, with the sin offering that we just looked at, the priest was the only one doing it, right? And in terms of the people, he is the epitome of set apartness. He's the epitome of holiness. So just in the simple fact of seeing that only the priest can eat it shows you that there was this prerequisite that had to be done in order for him to be able to participate in the sacrifice, right? And then over here now, when we look at this this offering over here, which was the peace offering, right? The peace offering now is taking it outside of just only the high priest or the priest, but it's still giving you that prerequisite of cleanness, right? Where you wasn't able to be unclean and partake. And so the thing that we want to try to think about is that internal thing, because eating, I'm saying that's an external thing because that's something that you do with your body, right? You just eat, right? Anybody could eat, right? It don't really, but we think about from a spiritual standpoint now, when we talk about the heart and we talk about the mind, or whatever state, talk about cleanness, whatever state you happen to be in, that's something that's kind of it's not physical, right? That's kind of a spiritual thing. And so we're saying that it's necessary for you to be spiritually right on the inside in order to be able to participate, benefit from these things that we do with our bodies, right? These external things, right? So we have to have a preparation, a process to have begun on the inside, and that be the most important thing, so that doing these things, because doing the things, it doesn't do anything for you, right? If your heart isn't right. And so, and I believe this is a perfect example, because this person doing this peace offering, he brings the peace offering when he's unclean. He's doing the thing. He's doing the thing that that's commanded that one would do. But he's unclean. He's Tameh, right? He's unclean. And so which deals with ritual cleanness. Let's see what that word is here. This is verse unclean. I believe it's Tameh. It's a tumah, which is a derivative of the Tameh, uncleanness, impurity. It's a state of being unclean, right? And so again, we can connect that to something really that is a type of status that you can be on, a place that puts you on the outside. And so as we go over to Matthew, we're going to look at Matthew a little bit and look at some of the words of Yeshua. We'll be able to see a connection to what we looked at over here with these offerings and the sacrifice and its significance with some of the things that Yeshua speaks about over in Matthew. So I want to pull that up, and we'll deal with that some here. Matthew 23. Matthew 23. And if you start reading at verse number 5, no, we'll start reading at verse number 1.
Then Yeshua spoke to the crowds and to his top ones, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on the seat of Moshe. Therefore, whatever they say to you to guard, guard and do. But do not do according to their works, for they say and do not do.
Okay, oh wait, let me get this moved up here. Okay.
For they bind heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on men's shoulders, but their finger they do not wish to move them. And they do all their works to be seen by men, and they make their tilleth wide and length than the tzitz of their garments.
Mm-hmm.
It says, and they love the best place at feasts and best seats in the congregations, and the greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called by men, Rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you do not be called Rabbi, for one is your teacher, the Messiah, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your Father. He is he who is in the heavens. Neither be called leaders, for one is your leader, the Messiah. But the greatest among you shall be your servant. And whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and whoever humbles himself shall be exalted.
We're going to keep going, but I want to stop here for a minute and look at some of these things over here, and look at what Yeshua is saying over here. Let's go back up where he begins over here talking about these scribes and the Pharisees. who he says sit in the seat of Moses. They sit in the seat of Moses. And if we think about Moses, we think about Moshe when we go back and look, Moshe being the very first priest, right? He's the one who anointed the priests.
Yeah.
Nobody then anoints. The priest had to be anointed in order to work and do their things.
Mhm.
He set everything up, saying nobody's able to go here. Nobody's ever to do this. Only the priest could do this or that. But before they could go in there and do it the first time, Moshe had to go in there and do it. He had to go in there and light up the menorah. He had to put the things where they're supposed to be at. Moses did all the things. The priests anoint the priest coming in, but the first priest to get anointed got anointed by Moses, right? And so Moses was the first priest. Moses was the king of Israel.
Yeah.
Moses was he led the whole nation.
Yeah.
Moses did.
Mhm.
Right? And so when we look at Moses, he literally is this picture of Yeshua, where it talks about Yeshua being after the order of Melchizedek, who is this king priest. But Moses gives us that first picture, right? And so when we think about what Yeshua is saying over here in terms of the scribes and the Pharisees sitting on the seat of Moses, he's basically saying these are the ones that rule the people. These are the ones that set things in order, right? Which is interesting because the scribes and the Pharisees weren't the Sadducees, which were the ones who at that time were the priests. It's interesting that he's saying this over here when the ones who were the priests at that time didn't belong to these people that Yeshua is saying sit in the seat of Moses. But be that as it may, he's giving you over here the scribes and the Pharisees because of the fact that these were the ones who held the scriptural knowledge at the time. The scribes and the Pharisees. These was the real ones who knew what the Torah, they knew what it said. Not like the Sadducees who were like the politicians, basically. They were these appointed people that were put in a particular place. They weren't quote unquote religious, even though they were the priests.
It sounds like the Christian churches today. The pastors in there.
But I think the difference is that these people that was the Sadducees, they really were motivated by the powers that be.
Okay.
Was the driving force behind the movements that they made.
So they had zeal, like for
government, which is from, right? Okay. That was so that's why I'm saying that I'm likening them to politicians, because they're not for the people, right. They're for themselves, and they're doing the things that the government basically is. They're the hand of the government. They're the hand of Rome in Israel at the time.
As it is today.
Well, basically, kind of funny.
That's why the politicians go in the churches.
Church,
yeah. And so when we think about this now, This is Yeshua now. These is red letters over here. This is what he's saying, right? He's saying that these scribes and these Pharisees, they sit in the seat of Moses. And so if we're able to look in history and find out who these people are over here, find out whatever traditions that these people was doing, or whatever writings they have, or whatever doctrines that they bring to the situation, Yeshua is literally saying, do what they say and not what they do. He don't got a problem with the things that they set up necessarily. He got a problem with the way in which they carry these things out. He literally said, whatever they say to you to guard it and do it. But their works now, that's a whole other thing. The thing that they do, they talk a good game, these Pharisees, but they don't meet up to their own standards that they make. But the standards that they make, though, do that, guard those things and do them, is what he said right there. That's what he said. And so just, I'm gonna probably talk about this some more, in a separate situation, but that's, this is one of the things that I think about in terms of, especially in regards to, the Most High's calendar. People come up with all these different calendars, whether it be pre-exilic or whether it be Enoch, or dark moon, all of these different things. But we're literally able to look and see what the people in the time of Yeshua, the scribes and the Pharisees, the way that they literally did things. And when I see this verse over here, Yeshua is basically saying, do what they did. And so you could go and find some things that Israel did at a particular time in history. But I'm able to disregard that because Yeshua is over here saying that the people over here that was in his time, his contemporaries, is the things that he's doing and the thing that he co-signs on when he says over here, do what they say. I'm gonna talk more about that at a later date, but I wanted to look also over here when we look at what he says over here in verse 7. Verse 7 here, let me scroll down some. This is interesting. Over here with this idea of a rabbi, right? Greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called by men rabbi. Let's look at this. Let's see. Semitic term literally meaning my great one. Exactly. Exactly. When we think about rabbi, many people say that Hebrew for teacher is rabbi. That's not true. People that were teachers were called by their students rabbi, but the word rabbi don't mean teacher. This is what it means over here, my great one, or high exalted one. Right? Rabbi literally means high exalted one. And so, which it it helps us understand why Yeshua's over here saying to these people, don't look at your teacher like this, right? And putting him on this pedestal over here and dealing with him in terms of being your great one, right? That sounds like that's how you would speak about the Most High. I mean, that is the Most High. That's what we call him, the Most High. But you saying that your great one, your great one is this guy over here.
That might be that show, Ruthless. The highest, and then the highest, they serving the rock coup. Because they talking about they scoop. So, mess with you.
Well, I mean, we could look at this. I guess it's really just going to show us. It's going to show us what this says over here. Let me see.
What's the word for teacher?
What, Rabbi? Rabboni?
Yeah, this teacher.
In the Greek over here, I don't know what this. It will probably be in the Greek. It would be something that's connected to disciple. It will probably be like, oh, you can see it right here, right? Discipler. Let's see. One is your teacher.
Instructor, doctor, master. Die.
One is your
Didacolos.
Yeah. So that word is connected to disciple. So the teacher is the one who teaches, and the disciple is the one who is taught, where it's like a different form of the same word, I think.
But rabbi is Hebrew, right?
Rabbi is, yes, it's transliterated. It's transliterated from the Hebrew. So if we go look at this in the Hebrew, see, of Hebrew origin, it comes from this word over here, H727, which is rob, which is abundant, right? In quantity, size, age, number, rank, quality, abound, abundance, abundant, abundantly, captain, elder, enough, exceedingly, full, great. All these high and lofty things. So it does it two times. He's saying over here where he says, and the greetings in the markets, and to be called by men rabbi, rabbi, right? Is where he's kind of making it be as if how, from euphemistically speaking, where in Hebrew, we know that when you say these things two times, it kind of elevates the situation, and which is how they thought about their teachers, calling them my high exalted one, right? And so when we look over here at what he's saying and then thinking about what this word means again, which it doesn't mean teacher again, but that's what the people called their teacher. But it don't literally mean that, right? It literally means, great one, or how they were saying it, my high exalted, my great one, basically. Right? And so what we're saying over here, but one thing we have to do now, though, is just like how we was thinking about before in terms of the blood and the fat. Because he's saying, don't sit up here and call these people rabbi. For one is your teacher, the Messiah, and you're all brothers. But we could look further down in the apostles, where, or even in the structure that Yeshua sets up, We could start there. We could start with the structure that Yeshua sets up, where his disciples that were taught by him was to go out and make more disciples. And so, not to say that there's not some form of structure that is to be created, but you taking it too far when you look at this person over here and you're giving him all of this honor and things.
Accolades.
Yeah, where the thing that he's setting up is for people to get pulled up.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just exalting himself and everybody. It's like you're above everybody.
Forever though.
But a real teacher, like, you know, Yeshua was going around, like you said, he was leveling you up.
He's getting his replacements ready.
Exactly. He's trying to get you to where he's at. So, you know, and if you do that with everybody, y'all governing yourself the right way. Like your society running the right way.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, I'm over y'all and
forever.
Yeah.
You know,
that's not the point.
So you know that the Mashiach is the central focus.
Yeah.
And we following him where he is our leader. Right. And we all on one accord.
And his spirit is of the Father, and the Father is that instruction. That's what we need to be.
Now you see why I always say I am your brother, your friend, and your servant. That's all.
Yeah. But what people will do with this over here now is just make it be how, because he says right here, and you are all brothers.
Oh,
right. And there's no, like, everybody's on the same level. Like, that's not the emphasis here. The emphasis is here. He don't want you to overemphasize this person over here.
He don't want you to elevate. Okay.
He don't want you to take, but there's got to be order and structure. He tells his disciples to go out and make disciples.
Right.
So while they're being discipled, there's a particular order there. Sure. Yeah. Right. But it's not a forever thing. It's not like you, like I belong to the Second Baptist Church forever. Like I go over here and that's my pastor forever. Like, and I just stay there. He grew these people up, and then they were supposed to go out and grow some more people up, and then they're supposed to go out and grow some more people up and keep on going like that.
Yeah. That's so funny because I was telling my sister, your wife, just yesterday. I said, I don't think the Most High is going to let one of his star people remain in spiritual kindergarten. You know, like you elevate first grade, second grade, third grade. A fifth grade teacher is not going to get mad because you graduated to 6th and 7th and say, "Hey, you don't belong in 7th grade. Come back down here and learn some of this."
Unless you really don't.
That is an exception.
Yeah.
That is an exception.
Yeah.
You know, that is an exception. Like, because you get some people, you know, I'm saying the name. Some people wash it off. They don't give them the milk, huh? They will take them, sip this milk. All right, give it back. Eat this steak. Boom.
Yeah.
They'll stuff food, meat down their throat, and then elevate them. And they don't make them a disciple. They make them a captain. You know? Next thing you know, I'm general such and such, and I run this, and I got 1,000 people up under me. And neither one of them drunk their milk either. Because it trickles down.
Yeah. Say don't be like them.
So we got to be able to understand what it is that Yeshua is talking about over here, what he's saying, what he means, right? What he's trying to say, because his disciples literally were teachers to people when he said, "For one is your teacher, the Messiah." And they was only doing what Yeshua has set up for them to do. And so we have to understand what it is that Yeshua is saying over here. Especially look where it says over in the next verse, chapter 9, verse 9. And do not call anyone on earth your father. Huh? Is that literal?
So because they dead.
I'm
joking with you.
That's what I'm asking. Is it?
Hey, do me a favor. Pull up Father in. We already know Abba. You know,
In the Hebrew or in the
Abba
Greek?
is Hebrew
both
for
of them.
father?
You know, because see, this is what I was always told growing up. That's your daddy. He's not your father.
Oh, based on this, I don't think that. But
You get me?
I'm
That's
saying
your
that.
daddy, because any man could be a daddy.
I'm saying that.
Okay.
Father, literally or figuratively, parent, right? So
Oh.
that's
Go back and say that again.
what
Figuratively
literally or figuratively, yeah.
right? Like father figure. You know, he played a position that daddy don't. Now why you think they don't say deadbeat fathers? They say deadbeat dad. You know what I'm saying?
I think
deadbeat dad.
I think he's thinking
Just a
about it.
daddy.
He's thinking about it in a different context, though.
No,
I think that when we look at this, right, we want to say that he's literally saying, don't call anyone father.
right.
But I'm not sure if we're able to do that. Just like when we looked at over here, it's about what is he trying to prevent from happening in terms of the relationship between these people over here with the way that they elevate it. Because we could look at verse 8 and say that everybody's the same. He don't want no structure, none of that.
Catholic,
Just based on
Romans, they was calling each other father, such and such.
Here, let's look at this. Let's look at this. Because this is well before that. This is well before we get to that. Let's look at this over here. Let's look at some verses over here. Let's look at the things that his disciples, the people who knew the best.
But that's interesting. They come after. So the Jewish today, their head high ups is called rabbi. Then the Catholics under that, they call themselves father. So it's like you reading this and I'm going to be rabbi.
I'm going to be higher.
Yeah.
It's like they read that.
It's like they read it
Purposely did it, right? Well, you could be a teacher. I'm going to be the father.
It's like, what's going on out here?
They're like straight.
And then you got Mother Teresa. Mother. And then
All right, read 17 right there.
1 Corinthians 4:17. For this reason, I have sent Timothy to you, who is my beloved and trustworthy son in the master, who shall remind you of my ways in Messiah, as I teach everywhere in every assembly.
Okay, so Timothy's his son.
in the master. So
There you
guess
go.
so what is he to Timothy?
I
In
mean,
the master.
there's only one thing you could be. If you're a son, then what's the opposite of that?
Dad.
But that's English though. They don't have that. You know what I mean? They don't have that. So he's over here to him. Timothy's his son.
Right.
So if he's calling Timothy's son, Timothy must be calling him father.
Or pops or something.
I know, but we just you know what I mean?
I know, man. It's like Paul read the book too. It was like,
Here, well, it ain't just Paul. Let's see what.
It's a couple people, right?
Let's look over here. That was Paul.
What about what
Let's look at Peter. Peter 1,
Isaac told Abraham?
5 and 13.
You know, he called him father, didn't he?
What did I say right there?
She who is in Babel, chosen together for you, greets you. Also, my sons, Marcos.
Mark, the person who wrote the book of Mark,
Yeah.
is the son, not literally, of Peter.
Right. Chosen, but look at that key word right here. Chosen together.
I don't know if we need that chosen.
Greet you,
I don't know if we
greet
need
you
a
So when you chose to do it, you know, like for instance, when I'm growing up, you get a lot of older guys say, "Son, listen to me, son." I'm not gonna say, "Hey, Dad." Hey, you my father.
No, but-
because he said, son, listen to what I'm saying. son.
No, but we can't miss what's happening over here. There's a relationship between Paul and Timothy.
Yeah, because
That's that of a father and a son in the
that's an
spirit.
intimate, like not intimate in sports.
In the
Funny.
spirit, in the
Yeah,
spirit. Like he's the teacher of Timothy.
Right.
Timothy goes out and talks the things that he learned from his spiritual daddy, Paul.
Right.
And the same thing is true about Mark.
Mhm.
Mark wasn't with Yeshua, you know. He gets his accounts that he writes in the book of Mark from Peter. That was there. Mark wasn't there. He heard about it from somebody who was there. His daddy, Peter,
Mhm.
who wasn't really his daddy.
Right.
But he over here says that you're my son. And the same thing is true when we look over in Philemon. It does the same. I beseech thee, my son Onesimus, whom I have begotten in my bonds. But the connection here is you dealing with these relationships with people where they're basically the students of this one or that one.
But none of them ever answered back. Yes, Father.
Well, the point that we making over here is that we have to be able to think about. So, I mean, if we take it literally, is he saying that you don't call your own regular father? I don't think that's the point that he's making over here.
Sometimes it's what's it called? Figuratively.
I think what's safe to do over here is think about it in the same way that we thought about the rabbi thing, is where in terms of where is your emphasis?
Right.
Is this person at a place of
Above the Most High.
or just above everything? I got to just only be able to just only do like he's supreme authority. Like that's a relationship that you have with your physical father who's like supreme authority, right? You do what he says over here. But so he takes it back. There's one who's your father. There's one really who has supreme authority, and he's the Most High. And so it's really about kind of working out these relationships in a way that's proper and right, and not getting them, into these kind of dysfunctional situations where we have these people that we've lifted up and put on this pedestal where they can't be brought down, and that can be we're able to see that by the way that he progresses in what he's saying over here, right? Neither be called leaders, for one is your leader. There's no leaders? Of course there's leaders.
Right.
But what level are you putting them on?
Exactly.
Right? You have to be able to look at this thing in a particular way. But the greatest among you shall be your servant.
Exactly.
If your leader is not serving you, like Yeshua himself did, right? Yeshua himself gives the example of humility to the utmost, because Yeshua, of course, is the creator of all things, and he's down here washing the feet of his disciples. Right? And so he said what he said. But what did he mean? What did he mean by what he said? Right. Is what you gotta get to the bottom over here.
That's heavy, man. It's like they're so reversed today. It's just like you don't because it puffs people up, because it's not only damaging the person that will want to promote or be like, it's my leader, and you just gonna look to that person so when they fall or something goes awry with that person, whatever they're teaching you is filtering too.
Mhm.
Because your base is supposed to be this knowledge, and that's who we would know or be able to see. Like it say, don't call nobody a leader, but if they're doing this, naturally, this book will make you a leader. And so it's like it manifests itself through the work. You don't gotta be called a leader necessarily to be like that's a leader, though. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
It's not taking it out of the equation. Because there's obvious leaders, there's obvious teachers, there's obvious people who behave within a relationship that's like a father-son relationship. But I think that the main thing that we see over here is again that we can't look at these people. Think about if you have this one who you call rabbi or father, this one who you look at as this all exalted one who's the greatest person that there could be, right? And then like you say, and then something happens with this guy. You find out that he ain't really what you thought he was.
Say he's bleeding, huh?
Two things could happen, right? It could either say, well, if he wasn't who he said he was, forget everything. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or you could look at it rightly and say, he's just a man.
Look what
Exactly.
Paul Peter did. What Paul Peter did in front of Barnabas, what the scriptures tell you that led them astray. I mean, I'm not dealing with this stuff, man. You know?
Yeah, so we have to be able to not have our whole worlds collapse around the individuals, right?
Because you're like idolizing them now.
That's what you're doing.
You're
your
idolizing.
faith is on him
Mhm.
instead of being on the Most High.
You're putting, and you see that in people's relationships,
Man,
from relationships,
yeah, man.
well, of all, from parents to the children and that's why I say even your father, because the Most High won't fail you.
Right.
So even if your father here
Mhm.
fails you,
Yeah.
you ain't collapsing as
never
a
fail
human
you.
being because
Yeah.
your real father
Yeah.
that runs your spirit, where your spirit comes
that's
from,
right.
should never
Yeah.
be able to fall like
You know,
that.
I had somebody tell me that thou shall not put your mouth on the Most High's anointed. And they was talking about a bishop that I know. And I'm like, huh? I said, let me ask you this. Who appointed him? Did the cemetery school give him a piece of paper and said, here, take this. You are now such and such. I said, I don't mean that. I said, but let me tell you this, though. When he disappoints you, let's see how anointed he really is. And sure enough, that's what happened. See, they elevate these people so much. It seemed like they will fight tooth and nails for them. I mean, I even had Christians like basically cut me off because I'm asking the daggone pastor a question and he couldn't answer it.
Well, I think
they got
that
mad at me.
I think that people, it's natural. It's a natural thing that we do, but what Yeshua is doing over here is trying to bring balance to the situation, right? He's not disrupting this whole thing in such a way where everybody's on the same playing field, right? On the same level. He's not doing that, but he's showing you, he's bringing balance to the situation. Like Paul said, follow me as I follow Messiah. That's what he said.
Mhm.
So he's calling for people to literally follow after what he's doing as he follows after Messiah. But if he stop following after Messiah, then maybe don't follow him no more.
Exactly. Did he say something like that?
He said that's what he said.
Yeah.
Follow me as I follow Messiah. That's what he
And
said.
then if he's like, one of them said,
I don't know if he said the adverse.
Yeah,
I said
if I don't do that, then something like that. I think so. I gotta find it.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. People do indeed. People do need to be taught. And he's not saying that people don't need to be taught. He's not saying that. He says the exact opposite of that in 2 chapters, 3 chapters from now. Go out and make disciples. That means you got to teach somebody. That means somebody, as the somebody, I got to sit down and learn some
Ain't there
things.
another verse that says, go ye further and make captains and lieutenants? That's in that one book.
I don't know, but I know in Ephesians now, it talks about apostles and pastors and teachers and evangelists and prophets, right? And so we know, and it also says that you using those ones are for the perfecting of the set apart ones.
Right.
And so the way upon which the set apart ones are reach perfection is by spirit-led leadership. So again, he's not sitting up here talking about not anarchy. Yeshua's not. He's not doing that. But what we have to be able to do is, as anything else, is people have to have the spirit of the Most High dwelling on the inside of them, right? And have the Ruach HaKodesh living and breathing in them, and the people moving according to spirit. And we can see that from what he's talking about over here, right? How far did we go down to? Verse?
I think right there.
Okay, verse 12. Whoever exalts himself shall be humbled. Whoever humbles himself shall be exalted. Right? It's about what this person said over here. Even teachers need to be taught, which takes humility. Right? Well, how was it that you became a teacher if you was never taught?
Right.
You obviously was taught first so that you could become a teacher in the first
I
place.
said the best teachers are the best students.
Best students, right?
Or students are the best teachers, or something like that.
Something like that. But you know what?
Well,
It
we're the
to
best
me
students.
is I've seen some on the Blue app mainly. The phrases and little cliches they say, you unlearned, you know, like you can't teach me nothing. Like, huh? Oh, okay, so I just come to you and learn everything, huh? You know,
Yeah.
you get people like that. Man.
People. I think the thing that we have to be able to understand is indeed the idea of humility. Because, and Yeshua is the perfect example of this. Yeshua, who sits up there, he is the very word of the Most High in the flesh. And he got to sit up here and deal with these people that he had to deal with on a daily basis, his disciples that he's sitting up here giving them all of these jewels, he's giving them all of these things. And it takes for him to go to die and go away before they even get to the place where they're supposed to be at after spending years with Yeshua. Peter, on the night that Yeshua was taken by the Romans and all that, he's sitting up there saying, I'll never deny you. I'll never deny you. I'll always stand behind you. I'm right here for you.
I like what you told me.
Until the people was like, hold on, wait a second, ain't that Peter over there who be with Yeshua? That's one of his people. That's one of his people right there. Nah, that ain't me. That's another guy.
Let that remind me of when you growing up, somebody call themselves your friend. They tell you, Chris, brother, I always got your back. I'll ride that with you. I'll ride. And then as soon as somebody come to jump you, they running. You know, like, hey, man, I thought you said you had my. That was then. But That's why I like what Yeshua told Peter. Surely, this is some. Surely is a cockroach. He will deny me 3 times. He was like, let them know. Yeah, okay. I know where your heart is, but when it really goes down, you're going to deny me.
Let's keep on going over here, because the place where Yeshua goes with the rest of this dialogue is not disconnected from what he already said. And so it helps us to understand what he already said, to keep on reading and to see what he getting ready to say. Right. So let's look at these over here a little better. Let's see. We just read verse 12.
12.
13, I meant to say. We read 12, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, 13.
But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut up the rain of the heavens before men, for you do not go in, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in.
Okay, very good. So now,
That's deep.
first of all, he done big up the scribes and the Pharisees was the first thing he talked about. These people over here, the scribes and the Pharisees, they sit in the seat of Moses. Whatever they say, do it. Oh, but you Pharisees though, you scribes and Pharisees, let me talk to you. I done talked to them other people first. I told them the way. I told them that y'all know y'all stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I told them to listen to what it is that y'all got to talk about. But now let me talk to you.
You.
He say, woe to you. What's he talking about? You shut up the rain of the heavens before men. For you do not go in, nor do you allow the. I got the lock and the key.
Mm-hmm.
And you ain't getting in the kingdom.
Yeah.
Unless I open up the door for you. Huh?
Yeah.
Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah. Nah,
I'm locking people out.
No, I'm joking. He ain't
The Pharisees.
That's the Pharisees be acting like
That's what I'm talking about. The Pharisees. Because you shut up the rain of the heavens before men. What's this say here? The rain. The rain. What did it say in the King James? The kingdom. You shut up, blocking the ability for men to get into the kingdom.
Yeah.
But you ain't even going in.
Yeah.
Well, you know that happened not too long ago. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They told somebody they ain't going in.
hey.
Yeah. I mean, but so he's saying over here. So let's think about this now. If we talking about these Pharisees who are quote unquote shutting up the reign of the kingdom of heaven before men, but they're not going in. You're not going in, but you're not allowing nobody to go in either. And so we can think about what we was talking about before in Leviticus, right? Where there's something that's not right inside of you, but you want to sit up here and participate in the holy thing. You can't participate because you ain't right. And so as a Pharisee, I'm not right, but I'm gonna sit up here and tell you how to be right, or block you from being right.
Yeah.
I'm saying when we look at this over here and think about what we had over there in Leviticus, where in Leviticus is helping for us to be able to see that in order to receive the sacrifice, we got to be clean, right? In order to participate in the things that the Most High has created for us to participate in, we got to be set apart already. And so he had already said that the scribes and the Pharisees sit in the seat of Moses. So if they're operating properly, if they're operating the way that they should be operating, they do got the keys. But they're supposed to be opening up the door so people could get in. But not blocking you from getting in, and they ain't even acting right so that they could get in. And so again, we look at this thing, it's about this balance, because he told you the first thing he said was they sit on the seat of Moses. Moses was the judge. He was the top judge. The other people, y'all figure it out. He learned from his father-in-law. You elders and heads of Israel, y'all worry about these lighter matters and take care of them yourself. But when it is a weighty matter that you can't deal with, then now you come to the top judge, who's Moses. Right? Moses had to shut up the reins of heaven before men sometimes. But he's doing it in a righteous way now. And so again, we look over here at this verse over here. He's talking about these Pharisees who their actions don't match with their words. Right? He started off saying, believe their words. It's the actions. Don't believe their actions. But we got to have both of those things. We got to be both hearers and doers of the word. If the Pharisees was hearers and doers, he wouldn't even be making this statement over here.
Yeah.
But they're not. They've removed themselves from being in the proper position to actually do the things that they were supposed to be doing because of the fact that they don't practice what they preach. Right? So he's saying, woe to you. You trying to hold people out, but your life ain't even right, and you ain't getting in either.
It's even say because it shuts up the rain of the heavens, like it's saying in the prayer, as done in the heavens,
Yeah.
so on earth. So
Yeah.
like, it's like that rain is that spiritualness, like
Yeah.
before men, because we bring heaven on earth by doing what the book say.
By doing it, yeah.
So we could have heaven, but let the spirit through. They blocking it. Yeah.
Yeah. They blocking it because there's like there's a block in the is what you call it, what's it called whenever it's clogged, it's a clogged arteries. Right? The spirit's supposed to be moving, supposed to be coming down through these ones who's supposed to be the ones who's teaching the people and showing them the way.
Right.
And
but
they're clogged. They are the clogged.
And they're clogged up.
You gotta get them out of the way, yeah.
But in their cloggedness, they sitting up there preventing you from doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so again, when we look at this, it's all about balance. It's all about the balance of things, right? Because as he's sitting up here rebuking the Pharisees, the first thing he did was give them praise. Yep. But if they was only just to get themselves into the place that they're supposed to be in the first place, it wouldn't be no problems.
So this is the pastors and all that. This seems more accurate for them.
Or whoever. It's them or it's the people over there with the
That's true.
As Elder Chris like to say, the wrestling outfits on. It's them too. I don't know why you gotta talk about those people like that. It's leaders in general who want to sit up here and hold these keys and block and shut up the rain of the heavens. Meanwhile, they're themselves on the outside. You get on the inside and do that. If you're on the inside, do it by all means.
Right, and that's the thing is like these people be saying who ain't gonna make it and what's gonna happen to people and this all. You don't know nothing. The Most High ain't showed you the book whose name is written in there. You don't know. You don't know who you. It's crazy.
Yeah. So it's necessary for everybody on every level to be connected to the source, to be connected to Messiah, right? And thinking back into Leviticus, if you was unclean, you can't partake in the sacrifice because the sacrifice is holy, right? And so this is the same thing. The things of the Most High are holy. And so you can't be unclean and participate. These scribes and Pharisees who are supposed to be out here being leaders and teachers of men are not doing the things that they are even teaching the people. Therefore, is disqualifying them, from doing the things that they are supposed to be doing. All right, let's keep on going. Let's look at verse 14.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you eat up widows' houses and for a show make long prayers, because this is for this you shall receive greater judgment.
Okay, so this over here. And so this is a total contradiction of things, right? The Most High is all about the widows, right? He's all about taking care of the widows. But he says you eat up widows' houses? What that mean?
What it sound like me taking their money or something like that, extorting them or
Getting a little bit they got.
Taking.
They don't got nothing as it is, and you gonna sit up there and take from the ones that you supposed to be given to.
But see that could be representative of the nation as a whole.
Well, the leaders, so that counts as the nation. They're the ones that's leading the nation. Yeah.
But it just mentioning widows.
Oh, you saying
I'm saying,
yeah.
He just throwing them in there because that's definitely what they doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, my mom is 80, and they ain't even got church. They ain't even doing church, and they keep coming past for the tithes.
What? And not checking up on people to see if you need something.
I ain't going to. Well, no.
That's the devil right there.
So
they say hi, and you know what I'm saying?
They say hi.
They sat there like a card and some flowers, but yeah, they come for that time.
We want our fee though.
I'm like, man, you giving what? They should be giving you something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need some food or
And this is exactly now. See, it's interesting that he uses these words over here because really, when you think about the treatment of the widow, is the epitome of what the Torah teaches us, right? To be able to be there for those who are not able to be there for their own selves, the orphans and the widows. That's Torah right there.
Yeah.
And so, meanwhile, so you got these people over here, these scribes and these Pharisees who are essentially working contrary to Torah, and they got all these long prayers to pray about. Meanwhile, you walking in unrighteousness, but you got all these long prayers to get. Yeshua said, "Nah, you getting greater judgment behind this."
I think one of the prayers was like, "I'm glad you didn't make me like these other sinners." Didn't they say that?
Yeah. I'm glad I ain't like them.
Yeah,
The worst one.
yeah. There is part of the traditional prayers that does go along those lines. But again, It's not as if he's saying that you can't have long prayers. He's saying you can't sit up here and be operating contrary to what the Torah even says and still be having long prayers and expect for them prayers to be heard from the Most High.
Yeah, because he tells you to pray always.
Always. Long prayers is good,
Yeah, right.
but not if you out here living contrary to the scriptures.
Making a show of it.
Making a show, right?
Yeah, what's this person saying over here? Let's see here. Praying long prayers and not helping those who can't help themselves. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so this is the thing. But again, we talking about these ones who are supposed to be, just like when we look back, if we was to compare the scribes and the Pharisees back to the priests of old. The priests of old had a particular criteria that they had and standards that they had to meet and abide by and live by in order to be able to continue in the way in which they did their thing. Right. And when if they wasn't able to meet those standards, then they wasn't able to perform their duties. And so the same thing is true with these people over here. Yeshua is saying, woe to you. You people who, by the way, sit in the seat of Moses, you sitting up here working contrary to the Torah, and at the same time thinking that you're supposed to come and give long prayers to the Most High and think that they're going to be heard. Yeshua said, nah, you got what's coming to you, right? Greater, you gonna receive greater judgment, he says. Okay, let's keep on going over here. Verse just 15. Then.
Well, to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you go about the land and the sea to win one convert. It says, and when he is won, you make him the son of Gillihan twofold more than yourselves.
You make him the son of hell, Gehenna, the place where the valley of dead bones, right? You go out here and you travel the whole world just to get this one person, and then you go down and drag him down to make him worse than what he already was, and all of y'all is going to the fiery furnace.
He dragging them where?
Huh?
He said he dragging them where, and they all gone.
Oh, it says Gehenna.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that, because
I didn't say it. You should.
I'm saying that you mentioned it, but
here we go. Right.
I ain't gonna say that. Oh, the anointed one. I'm already said. You know, I saw someone say if I'm wrong, all up under me. That made me think, like, yeah, you know that.
He ain't wrong though.
You ain't wrong. You know, because you know you are responsible for those. I mean, because especially when you got them taking on your so-called adopted last name, and then I'm saying, and you teaching these people these things, and it's trickling down, and then I hear, Chris, when I hear many, I had a brother brag to me and tell me we got all these people, 60,000. When somebody do that to me, the first thing I think about the scripture saying many will be deceived. Many. The key word, many. But few finds a narrow road. I like few. I'm good with few. What about you, Wanda? Good with few?
It's kind of it's a common situation, but I think that it kind of goes with the overall kind of the place where Yeshua's going to, right? Because this person over here is kind of like one of those people who's looking at this high exalted one, and whatever this guy says is gold, right? And you know, he's my father and my high exalted one. Wherever you take me, that's where I'm going. But we have to, you know, part of being a disciple, you know, you're lying to people if you're sitting up here and you got all of the truth. If you want to really disciple somebody, you got to show that person how they're able to grow and learn and be self-sufficient. That's the point of all this, not for you to be dependent, right? But show somebody how to be self-sufficient. And so, but this person over here is going wherever this person takes them to, because you know, again, if we look back to where he began before he started going into these woes, you know, we have to be able to have balance in our situations, right? And so Yeshua is sitting up here and he's talking about these people over here, these hypocrites. He calls them these scribes and these Pharisees, these hypocrites, right? Who are doing all of this quote unquote work for the kingdom. And in the meanwhile, they taking people to Gehenna, right? Or translated into King James as hell, right? Hebrew origin, Valley of the Son of Hinnom, Valley of Jerusalem, using this place in the place or state of everlasting punishment. Okay. All right, let's keep on going. 16. Wait, 6. Let me get 16. 16. Oh, just 16 and 17. Let's see that.
Woe to you, blind guides, who say, whoever swears by the dwelling place, it does not matter, but whoever swears by the gold of the dwelling place is bound by oath. Fools and blind, for which is greater, the gold or the dwelling place that sets the gold apart?
Oh, wait, keep on going.
And whoever swears by the slaughtering place, it does not. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. But whoever swears by the gift that is on it is bound by oath. Fools and blind. For which is greater, the gift or the slaughter place that sets the gift apart? He then who swears by the slaughtering place swears by it and by all that is upon it. And he who swears by the dwelling place swears by it and by him who is dwelling in it. And he who swears by the heaven swears by the throne of Elohim and by him who is sitting upon it.
Okay, very good. So it's interesting that he goes in this way, but this is basically where we started at in terms of talking about this sacrifice and the sacrifice being holy. The sacrifice is holy, right? So he sits up there and says, talking about swearing by the dwelling place, right? Or swearing by the what's it say here? The temple, right? But what the thing that's most important is not the temple, but the thing that is representing the thing that is there for, which is the sacrifice, right?
Its purpose.
The purpose, the point of it. What's the point of the matter?
Right.
Even when he takes it all the way to swearing by heaven, who's the one that sits on the throne that's in the heavens,
Yeah.
right? And so he's sitting up here looking at these people. He calls them you fools, you blind ones, right? Who are supposed to be leading the people where they don't really have a true understanding of the meat of the whole thing, right? You know, he does this in other places where he talks about the Pharisees, where he talks about the fact that if you read Moses, you read of me, he says, right? And so we got these people over here who quote unquote know the word, but the spirit is not alive inside of those people, bringing them into truth. And so the emphasis, the thing that you are harping on is the wrong thing. You looking at the outside, but you're supposed to be thinking about what's going on the inside. And so therefore he's sitting up there saying, woe to you, you know, you not looking at this whole thing correctly, right? It's about the sacrifice. And for us, the sacrifice is Yeshua. Right? If we not understanding you know what it is that Yeshua has come to do for us and allowed the work that he's done to change us from the inside out, it don't matter what you do. It don't matter what things you stop doing or what things you start doing if you don't have a genuine relationship with the sacrifice. Because the sacrifice is the thing that's holy, right? Not the place where he quote unquote resides, the temple.
Right.
The temple's only holy because of the sacrifice that's in it. Right? And so the same thing is true with us. You know, we only are able to get to the place or be the whoever, you know, whatever it is that the Most High is calling for us to be because of what Yeshua is able to and has done on the inside of us. Right? That sacrifice. Okay, so he's talking about these scribes and these Pharisees who they do all kind of things, but their hearts ain't right. We got to be out here about the business of getting our hearts right. Right? Not just out here doing things. Because anybody could do things, right? Anybody.
That's like a lot of people who, you know, they profess Christ with their mouths, but you know, their lifestyle and everything says that, boy, you don't know him. You know what I mean? You're not walking with him.
Like, yeah.
It's like they just it's like association, but there's no connection.
Right.
Yeah. Don't really know him. I know him to see him. And you don't even know to see him because you think about that picture you see on the wall. Right? And so we got to be at the place where we are able to get and have a genuine relationship with the sacrifice, right? And not just about the building. The only thing that gives the building the credibility is the thing that's inside of it, which is Yeshua in you.
Yep. It's like if Yeshua was just born and he never did anything. Just he was like a monument or a statue. And you worship that. Like it didn't do nothing. Look at his, but you look at his works.
Yeah.
And then what leads the works? The spirit. And that's what's to be worship.
Yeah.
It's like getting the accolades too, right? You know, when you are seeking to get these accolades, it's really the people might they're trying to get to what's in you. That's
Mhm.
supposed to be Yeshua, right? Yeshua is supposed to be, you know, the one who's ministering and doing these things
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the Ruach, right? And so people, there's a natural attraction that happens there.
Yeah.
People get connected to you, like, oh
Mhm.
man, you know what I mean? Let me, and then you start feeling yourself like, oh, it's me. Like, yeah, oh, they
Yeah,
like
like
me.
it's
They
you,
like
yeah.
being around me.
Exactly.
It happened with Yeshua. Yeshua went around and was like, imagine Yeshua today. There's this, you see that guy on YouTube who's out there raising people from the dead? You see that? He be sitting up there performing miracles and stuff. It was these crippled people that ain't never walked before, and then he came over and touched them, and then they started walking. Can you imagine what that? I mean, it's the same thing. There was people who came around just to see the amazing things that he was doing.
Yeah.
But then when they got there, then now and they hear the words that's coming out of his mouth. Now it's almost like he had this propaganda machine that was his miracles.
Right.
It was a thing that people was able to look and see. Wow, did y'all hear about that guy from over there in Galilee who be over there?
Yeah.
I'm trying to go over there and see what he talking about.
It was like a show.
Yeah.
Hey, did someone call him the devil? Like because of some of the
They didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
They just knew that he was over there and there was some amazing things that was going on that they was hearing about.
Yeah.
But then now once they got over there, now it's a whole other thing. And so the difference is that, you know, he's doing these things over here. It's not a problem. That wasn't a problem. The Pharisees, you know, they literally could, all of these things that we're looking at, if we tweak these things a little bit, you don't got any problems. But because of the fact, if we was to say that, you know, you went over across the high seas just to get one person, that's great.
Mhm.
The problem is you taking that one person to hell.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
If they would just be doing the things that the Most High actually created for them to be doing. And that's why he's sitting up here saying, woe to you, because you're not fulfilling your purpose over here. All right, let's look at verse 23 and 24.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you tithe the mint and the anise and the cumin, and have neglected your matters of the Torah, the right ruling, and the compassion and the belief. These need to have been done without neglecting the others.
Mm-hmm.
Blind guides, straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel.
That's crazy, right? I'm sitting up here. I got this. I want to drink this tea, but it got this little piece of. I'm gonna sit up here and get this little piece of thin little hair out. Oh yeah, pass me that ham sandwich real quick.
Yeah, right.
Right. I'm straining at a gnat and I'm swallowing this big old huge thing.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sitting up here worrying about these little things. Well, I'm gonna need. I got some mint and some anise and some cumin. I'm gonna go ahead and tithe these things, but I don't care nothing about judgment and compassion and faith.
Right.
The Torah is about judgment and mercy and faith, right ruling and compassion and belief. That's what it's all about. But I'm sitting up here worrying about you. I need my 10% of this mint,
Mm-hmm.
or these different herbs and spices. Right? I'm worried about these little things and don't care nothing about the real point of the whole thing in the first place. And this is just like the other thing. If they're doing all of the things, they got no problems. if you caring about judgment and mercy and faith and the mint and the anise and the cumin, fine. You got no problems
But
here.
it's an order to it. Yeah, you gotta.
But you sitting up here, you paying all this attention to these little minute little details and the things that's big, you don't even think about. We do that.
Definitely.
We be doing that.
Oh, I try not to. I'm pretty good at it. Yeah.
I see these people. Oh my goodness. They was talking about fringes.
That alone, that's all you gotta say.
Right?
Fringes.
They was talking about fringes and people putting fringes on a t-shirt. A t-shirt is an undergarment. Right? This is their definition. T-shirt, undergarment, it don't belong there. It only goes on your outer garment because you can't see an undershirt. Right? And so they're literally taking shirts, t-shirts with fringes and like burning them. Because it's not on the outer garment.
Wow.
See, now you idolizing.
Huh?
Now you idolizing the thing that was supposed to remind you spiritually. Kind of like, not to say it could be done any kind of way, but you're turning into an idol. Like he didn't make it like.
They're straining at a gnat.
You know
Is
what?
what they're doing.
I can transliterate that in cash flow dollars words. You see, Satan wants you to keep the laws because he know you're going to sin. I remember hearing him say, I said, oh my goodness, this man is great. See, the law's done away with, but Satan wants you to keep the law because he knows you're going to sin. And guess what? No people so colorless. That's right. That's right. But thank Jesus, the law done away with. Hallelujah. I'm like, man, that strong delusion ain't no joke. When you actually seeing it, after y'all said he was going to do it, and then you actually see it in fruition, you be like, woo, you wasn't playing, was you?
Yeah.
Woo, you wasn't playing. Or the itching ears. I'm going to go listen to this teacher. And they tell you that Israel was right up in Kenner Field. And Messiah went up Ammons and was sacrificed. You know what I'm saying? And he rose in Homewood. And I'm like, so if this is already Israel, how did we get here? You know what we do? Take the Gateway Clipper from the south side and came over the north side. You know, doesn't make no sense, man. Those fables.
And the thing about all of this is that it's so much. It's more the offense is more grievous because he's dealing with the people who are supposed to be the learned people.
Yeah,
the scribes and the Pharisees.
Yeah,
right. Everybody is accountable for their own works, and so it's not as if to say that you're off the hook just because somebody's out here leading you astray. At some point, we have to be able to, open up the book and look at it and see what it says. But there's more judgment that is there for those who are supposed to be the learned ones, and they sitting up here taking these people in a wrong direction. And that's why he's sitting up every time he sit up here and say, woe to you. He call him a hypocrite. What is that? Hypocrites. He harsh too, ain't he? He harsh on these people over here. An actor under an assumed character. You actor under an assumed character. That's what he's saying to these people. You just out here perpetrating a fraud.
A stage player.
Stage player.
Playing. We always say, no, we put it all the way down though. You playing, out here playing.
That's what he said. You woe to you Pharisees. You out here playing.
Right.
Huh? All right, let's keep on going. Let's 25 and 26.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are filled with plunder and unrighteousness. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, so that the outside of them becomes clean too.
I mean, truthfully though, if I got a cup, I mean, I'm all right with you just clean the inside. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, right.
But if you only clean the outside, you ain't did nothing.
Yeah. You still drinking that dirt.
You ain't did nothing.
And that's what people doing, drinking that
Come
dirt.
on, man. I'll take a dirty cup on the outside if you clean on the inside.
Yeah.
But if you ain't cleaning the inside, though, come on, man. Huh?
Yeah, it's like people who literally they've been doing the thing for years and there's no change. It's like, you know, the inside is still the same person they was, you know, before their so-called transition. But I wonder if the Pharisees were actually deceived, or did they know they was like, did they know they were sons and daughters of the devil?
I think that the issue becomes the fact that we need for Yeshua to come and die and go back to the Father and send back his Ruach HaKodesh.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's only by the Spirit that you understand the things of the Spirit. And they don't got the Spirit. They're waiting on something to happen so they're able to get the right understanding. And so they looking at all of this from a carnal perspective.
Yeah.
It's they carnal. Right?
Well, today I believe that they know who they serve.
I
believe.
I'm saying that if we look at people who are exhibiting the things that Yeshua is speaking to, these woes over here, it really boils down to the same situation. Is that if I'm about carnality, right? If I'm about carnality and I'm not spiritual, I'm going to deal with all of these carnal things, which at the end of the day is me just washing up the outside of the cup. These are the things that I'm going to deal with, the things that I could physically see and touch and deal with, the things that pertaineth unto carnality. But at the end of the day, if I'm a do 26, right, I need to have you be introduced to Yeshua. I need for you to be able to have experience the only one who's able to change your heart, right? The only one who's able to take that stony heart and take it out and replace it with a heart of flesh. And so until somebody has that spiritual transformation, the only thing they're going to ever try to do is fix your clothes.
Exactly.
Or fix the things that's going on the outside of you.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to concentrate on. All of that.
Look the part.
Yeah. But what about being the part? That's what got to be done. And that's why he's sitting up there talking to these Pharisees who know the scriptures. They know the Torah. They know they should know what the character of the Most High is, so that they're able to be the examples and the propagators of it. But they miss something there.
They don't got the Spirit.
They don't got the Spirit. They don't get it. It's the main ingredient. It's the main. You made this big old pot of soup. It got all kind of chunks of ingredients is all in it. But You ain't put no salt on that stuff. You need to put that back on the stove. I don't care how much simmering you do to it. If you don't hit it with some of that, if you don't a little touch of salt now. I'll just, you know what I'm saying? You need a little, you know what I'm saying? With all your things, you need just a little bit of salt. Just a little bit, not too much. But I'm saying salt, but we talking about the spirit, right? The spirit got to be at the foundation of all of these things, which these people that he talking about is obviously not there, right? All right, let's keep on going. Let's see, 27 and 28.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly indeed look well, but inside are filled with dead men's bones and all uncleanness. So you too outwardly indeed appear righteous to men, but inside you are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness.
That's harsh. I like the words he say in the KJV. What he said over here? He said you some whitewashed sepulchers.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You a beautiful tomb. Like that don't even like that's hurtful in and of itself. Like you're just a tomb that's clean, like a white clean.
You just hold dead things. You just hold dead things. You know.
Hey man, that's harsh, ain't it?
Ain't it?
I mean, it's like it's like they're dead to love. Like there's no compassion. There's no, you know what I mean? That's
none of the things. Right ruling, mercy, faith. They don't got none of that.
Yeah, they don't see nobody hurting. You know what I mean? They're just dead. Their compassion and love and all of the things that we should have as human beings.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, that's the purpose.
To shut off.
We're all here for each other,
right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're made in the Most High's image, so why wouldn't we all be here for it?
Right. Especially Israel. They're family.
Yeah,
they're all families. Cousins,
people.
uncles, brothers, sisters.
Yeah.
And so when we look at this, right? When we look at this again, we can look back at what we talked about in Leviticus in terms of the fact that the people, there was a prerequisite to participating in the sacrifice, right? That set apartness, that cleanness. You couldn't be unclean and participate. These people sitting up here, they saying that they one thing, but they not. He said you actually filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness. Iniquity, right? Anomia. You were just without law and hypocrisy. These are supposed to be the ones who's the teachers of the law. Meanwhile, they got none of it. Right? Because again, if we go back, if we look at some of these things, if I'm gonna sit up here and talk to you about tithing these herbs, but I'm treating the widows bad. Right? I'm not dealing with right ruling. I'm not dealing with mercy and compassion. I mean, these are like fundamental things that we deal with in terms of understanding who the Most High is: compassion and mercy.
You know what this kind of break down to me? Like, where's that the lawlessness part? Morals. It's like if you simplify a little bit, because we know morals is just basically rules or laws that you would govern yourself by or you adhere to. It's like people like you don't got no morals. Like you don't got because the Most High's morals. I mean, well, you have straight, happiness.
Well, I guess if we go back to their lofty titles, they might feel like they're above everybody else. Like they can't see it because they're above it. You know what I mean? It's like they're high and lifted up ones.
High exalted ones.
Right,
Yeah. Where they so high lifted up, they just separate themselves from the people.
The common man, the fellow man.
Yeah. Where they're supposed to be humble. Like if I'm so high up and up, wherever I'm at in the stratosphere, I can't even help nobody because I can't touch you.
Right.
I can't reach, my arms don't reach back way down that far no more. Like,
but Yeshua was washing feet.
Yeah.
He was serving people.
Yeah, in the dirt.
Yep.
Yeshua was. And so Yeshua gives us the example. He shows these some of these scribes and Pharisees at times they're looking at him like he hanging out with all these wine bibbers. And these people, what kind of holy person is he when he hang out with them, with that kind of people?
He's raising them up.
Yeah, he said I didn't come here for the righteous. What do they need?
Yeah,
he came for the sick.
Yeah,
that's what he came for. And so it's the same thing. We sit up here and look at this when we talk about these verses over here. They sitting up here scrubbing they outward body so that it shine and glisten and everything. Meanwhile, on the inside, they just dead.
You know what's interesting? Like, speaking of today, is like, all the laws and all of the things are made to benefit the rich. I mean, you got rich people that came out doing like the crisis, like, yo, don't give us no more benefits. We're all right. We'll pay our due. You need to help, the people that need help. But
it's necessary. It's necessary for us to be able to look at these things that Yeshua is dealing with these scribes and these Pharisees. With the scribes and the Pharisees, and see what the problem with them is. There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between the thing that they're obviously teaching, the scriptures, and they're teaching the scriptures, but disconnected from the scriptures at the same time.
That's what he's saying. Like you know a person by their actions. Like you say you follow this book, I can see that whether you do or you don't.
Right.
Because you're going to show me, and especially if I gotta know though, because that's the thing. A lot of people don't know
what to say.
What it looked like to follow the book. So somebody professing, and you believe, and you blindly follow because you don't know.
Until you start to find out.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute.
When you walking with somebody and they say, yeah, we're going to the same place. And then you keep going and they start veering off. You're like, wait, I thought you was
it's over there. I know where to go. Like, y'all didn't know it was over there?
Yeah.
Y'all was playing.
Right.
Y'all let y'all go over
actors.
There. Yeah.
I'm going to catch up with you.
All right, let's finish up over here. Let's go. Hold on. Where we read down to. Did we read 31?
No.
Oh, we stopped short a little bit.
On 29.
Okay, go ahead.
But when you read Yeshua's words, sometimes, because I was trying to show her like a little part, I'm like, you know what? I gotta read everything he said, because sometimes it be like that. You just can't pull what he's like. You know what? Because this whole thing he said is what you need. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the prophets and decorate monuments of the righteous, and say, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have taken part with them in the blood of the prophets. Wow. Thus you bear witness against yourselves that you are sons of those who did murder the prophets, and you fill up the measure of your father. serpents, brood of adders. How would you escape the judgment of Gehenna? Because of this, see, I send you prophets.
Hold on. Let's stop right there. We're gonna. I want to talk about this before we get too far away from it.
Yeah, it's a lot, man.
When we look at this, because he's describing somebody who is doing some there's some self-righteousness involved in this. Where if I was back there with them, I was no way I'd mess around and do the things that they did. How could they have?
We say it all the time when we.
Oh my goodness!
We say that.
I say that so many times because it's easy to say when you outside of it, right?
Right.
They sat up here and they did what? They did what after they just heard what? But that's what he's sitting up. Well, but I think the difference is that he begins it by continuing what he was talking about with the whitewashed sepulchres. Mm-hmm. So you're building up the external and then talking about what you would or wouldn't do if you was over there with your current clean outside, dirty inside self.
Yeah.
Where it is slightly different, but it's kind of the same, but it's slightly different. But the most important part is that you've already built up your external. And then after you've built up your external, you talk about how much better you are than those that come before you who are missing the same thing that you missing, which is the spirit. Right? And so that's I think that's a part that we got to think about is that, it becomes exaggerated because we look at these people who's talking to, you built tombs of the prophets and decorate the monuments. You look up to and you've risen these people up to this place. You venerate these people, but these are the same ones that you can't even live up to the standards or the heights that they set up there and created.
Mm-hmm.
He said if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have taken part with them in the blood of the prophets. But the way that Yeshua is describing these people, they absolutely would do that because of the fact that they are dead on the inside. Exactly. And then we can see, this is Matthew 23. We can see in a couple more chapters that they said up there talking about crucify him. Hey, give us Barabbas. Yeah. Take him. Ain't that They did a Peter right here. If I was back there and I seen these prophets, I would never have killed these prophets, these people from the Most High. Oh, Yeshua, kill that one. Give me this one. Let him go. They did the exact opposite of what they said they would do.
Yeah.
But Yeshua, thus you bear witness against yourself that you are the son of those who you did in fact murder. The proof is in the proverbial pudding. Right?
Chocolate.
Yeah. That's the only kind of word we eat anyway, right? Okay, so we see over here it's really just Yeshua going on along these same lines, is that there's a necessity for there to be a set apartness in order to participate. You would think that these two things go hand in hand. You would think that as I am engulfed in the word of the Most High, as these scribes and these Pharisees would indeed be, you would think that the ways of compassion and mercy and right ruling and faith in things would be a byproduct of getting into the Torah as they did. But again, it's only showing us that we need the Spirit. We need the Spirit to bring this word alive in our hearts and in our minds. And when we don't have it, all we're doing is going through motions and doing things and not being transformed from the inside out. Okay. All right, let's go down to 33.
Serpents, brood of adders, how would you escape the judgment of Gehenna?
Mm-hmm.
Because of this, see, I send you prophets and wise men and scholars of scripture. Some of them you shall kill and impale, and some of them you shall flog in your congregations and persecute from city to city, so that on you shall come all the righteous bloodshed on the earth, from the blood of righteous Hebel and Abel, to the blood of Zachariah, son of Bechiel, who you murdered between the dwelling place and the slaughter place. Truly, I say to you, all this shall come upon this generation.
Okay, very good. Well, let's just finish up this. Let's just read the rest of this here.
Yerushalayim, killing the prophets and stoning those who are sent to her. How often I wish to gather your children together, the way a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, but you would not. See, your house is left to you laid waste. For I say to you, from now on, you shall by no means see me until you say, blessed is he who is coming in the name of Yahweh.
Okay, very good. So when we look over here and continue with Yeshua chastising these scribes and these Pharisees and giving us a very important lesson that, if we thought about it, we was able to gain from Leviticus and understand that we got to be in a certain way. We got to be in a particular state in order to properly do the things of the Most High. And so when we look over here with these scribes and these Pharisees, these is the ones, if you needed to know about what the scriptures and what they say and what they mean, you go to them. These are the ones that taught the scriptures and knew the word forwards and backwards. Right? They was familiar with the scriptures on every level, but the scriptures never penetrated their stony hearts. And so they was able to sit up there and talk about the scriptures and say this and make all these various declarations and come up with all of these different types of rulings on what this verse meant and what that verse meant. But the scriptures never changed their hearts, right? They still had stony hearts.
You know what? I want to see someone there. That's wow. Every time Maury don't even speak on something, I experience it. But as I was explaining to a couple of brothers, it was a Muslim brother, two pastors and Israelites, those called Vulcan, but they were Israelites, all of them, but some of Vulcan. One professing to be Israelite. Very good, quoting scriptures. Excellent, But I said, you know what, my brother said, it just hit me that you might can quote the scriptures, real good. It shows me that you do read the Bible. But if you see a person that's living in scriptures which you're speaking, they show they know the author of who wrote the book that you read, and you don't, because you're not acting according to it. It's a big difference. Big difference, you know. Knowledge puffs up, but application builds up. I had to learn that the hard way, man. You even know that one. I see him every month.
And so we have to see what it is that Yeshua is giving these people over here. He's bringing them back into. He's bringing balance to this very unbalanced situation where they're taking, they're the place where they're at, and they're not using this thing properly. He's letting us know and understand that we have to be able to be, as it says, talks about in James, not only hearers of the word, but doers of the word, right? Because these people are a perfect example, again, who they knew what the word actually said, but were they able to actually have the word be manifest in their lives? No, they wasn't. They wasn't able to have it be manifest in their lives. If they did, they wouldn't have Yeshua sitting over here chastising them in this way. And so, we have to, learn the lesson that we supposed to learn from the way that Yeshua is dealing with the Pharisees, and also bringing it back to what we talked about initially with the sacrifice, and putting all of these things together and understanding that we are indeed a set apart nation, right? We are indeed a nation that is supposed to be dedicated to the Most High. And so if all we're doing is sitting up here and talking about what it is that the Most High is and what he represents, or even his character, and those things have never been applied to our lives, we are nothing but actors.
Exactly.
We out here playing games.
Wow.
It's like a show and tell. It's one of those a costume party over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're not allowing the Spirit of the Most High to come into our stony hearts and transform it into a heart of flesh, and have for us to actually begin to live and walk out, this word in this world, right? The only way that we're able to be light and salt in this world of darkness and unseasonedness, right, is to be seasoned ourselves. I can't be salt if I've never got salted. I can't be light if I've never been lit by the light. And so, we see over here with Yeshua, he's talking to these people who they never felt the effects of the things that they teaching over here to these people. And it's a huge problem because it's all for nothing, right? It's all for naught for them and for whoever follows them and is not able to come to the knowledge of the truth. And so, we want to remember that, this thing, that this life that we live, it's not about, I can't say it's not about, I could say that it's not only about the external, right? Because I need for the whole cup to be clean, right? It's not like I could have a clean inside cup. I was messing around when I was saying I can't just have a clean cup on the inside and be dirty on the outside. right? I need that fullness, right? I need the fullness. I need to literally be clean on the inside and on the outside. I can't be walking around looking like I'm clean. Meanwhile, I'm a dead a bag of bones and filth, right? You know, Yeshua gives us the ability to be all that he's asking for us to be, right? If we would only just allow for, you know, the work that he has done to take a real effect in our lives, and, you know, really take this thing seriously, and it not just be like a you know, like a fad, right? Like a trending thing,
Exactly.
right? But this thing, you know, this is our life.
They don't got the spiritual part. That's what you're talking about. That fat is the carnal part.
Yeah.
But the spiritual part is the
It can't be that. It can't be that. If all we are is about carnality, then we're not representing what the scriptures, you know, is giving us. Well, we are representing what the scriptures is giving us. We're representing these scribes and these Pharisees who's simple actors over here, right? We have to get to the place where we're living this thing on the inside and on the outside. Okay.
That's why the kingdom gonna be amazing, because it's like the kingdom we're gonna have to focus on the inside as much as we do now, because the kingdom is gonna be right. So the outside is gonna be how great will it be when the inside work is done. So the things that we would carnally do, it was gonna be amazing. Because here it's kind of opposite. You know, people focusing on all this nice stuff they got, but it's dead in there. But imagine if you're doing the right things and the nice things, everybody will have nice things.
Right.
Because, you know, it's not because you know, it would just, you know, you get what I'm saying?
I know exactly.
If you just expand it out, it's just crazy.
Yeah. And so, you know, so we just have to remember that, you know, if we want to if we want to be in that place that you're talking about,
Right. Yeah.
You know, we got to get this first part out the way, right? And we got to begin to live a life of set apartness now, and so that, you know, when the switch happens, you know, we on the right side of things. And so again, you know, we want to you know, just, you know, encourage everybody to you know, where our priorities must be, right? Our priorities must be about getting our hearts right, right? Our priorities must be about aligning our spirit with the Ruach HaKodesh, aligning ourselves with the one who made us, so that we're able to be in right standing, and so that we're able to show others, you know, how to get to that same place, and to keep this thing going until there ain't nothing else left, right? You know. Okay, so that being said, for now, we're gonna go ahead and be done with this for right now. We want to go ahead and thank everybody who came on here. Thank you for all of your comments and things over here. Hope that you go ahead and like hit the like button, share these videos, hit the notification button, subscribe to the channel, do all the things that keeps the feeds the algorithms and continues the work that we doing in this area, continue to have it be spread. We want to say for now, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Have a
Y'all
great
willing, we'll be back on next week doing this all over again.